As soon as Mina walked in the office building for her interview, everyone looked at her, held their noses, and moved away like she smelled really bad. The glass doors of Xyrantech headquarters opened wide like the gates of a palace. Bright lights, cameras, security, nervous candidates. Everyone was dressed to impress. It was the National Talent Challenge, and only 10 people from across the country had made it to the final interview round. One of them was Mina Adegbite, a 24-year-old village girl with a plastic folder in her hand and sweat stains under her arms. Her clothes were clean but faded. Her cheap black shoes were dull from walking, and behind her as she entered the building came a faint smell of firewood and old charcoal. It wasn't perfume. It wasn't money. It was poverty. As she walked into the waiting lounge, the other candidates, all polished and perfumed, looked up. Their noses twitched. One girl coughed and turned away dramatically. "Oh my God," whispered Ivana, the most glamorous girl in the room. "Did someone bring in a roasted yam vendor?" The others giggled. Mina heard them. She pretended not to. She sat alone, far from the glass table filled with croissants and cold juice. Her stomach grumbled. A tall man in a suit walked in. "All finalists, please come with me." They followed him into a giant room filled with board members, company executives, and cameras. A huge banner read, "Xyrantech's Next Visionary, Final Round Live." Each candidate had to pitch a 1-minute solution to a problem. Right there, in front of everyone. Mina was number 6. While others presented fancy graphs and talked about AI, climate change, or global trade, Mina sat with her notes shaking in her lap. She had only one idea: how to help workers in poor areas use solar stoves instead of wood. Then her name was called. She stood. Someone at the front table, a junior manager, sprayed air freshener as she passed. A few chuckled. One panelist glanced at another and raised a brow. Mina's heart pounded. Her voice shook at first. But then she remembered her mother, coughing in their one-room home. She remembered the burns on her uncle's arms from an exploded fire pit. And she remembered every time someone told her she smelled like smoke. She took a deep breath and spoke. "Good afternoon. My name is Mina Adegbite. I come from Obasi village. Today I want to tell you about a simple idea that can save lives and protect our environment." She didn't use big words. She used real stories, real numbers, real passion. The room fell silent. Even Ivana stopped chewing her gum. At the end, one panelist clapped softly. Another nodded. The rest stared, surprised. Mina bowed politely and walked out fast, her face burning. Outside, she sat on the stairs behind the building, covering her face. She was sure she had failed, not because of her idea, but because of her smell. Behind her, a janitor walked past. He carried a mop, bucket, and a mischievous smile. Minutes later, Mina returned to the waiting area to collect her bag. It was wet. The bottom was soaked in cleaning liquid. And now, it reeked of chemicals and sweat mixed together. People pinched their noses. "What is this?" Ivana shouted. "Ugh, just throw it away." Mina grabbed her bag and walked away quickly, tears in her eyes. Far behind, standing near the reception, a man in plain clothes watched her leave. He had been watching her since the presentation. His name was Elian. No one knew he was the CEO's son, and no one knew he had just made up his mind. The streets were muddy from the morning rain. Mina walked barefoot now, her shoes dangling from her fingers. Her bag dripped with the strange mix of cleaning liquid and humiliation. People passed her and stared. Some whispered. Others covered their noses. She walked faster. Obasi village was 10 blocks from the city's edge. No streetlights, no pavement, just tin-roofed homes, open gutters, and the smell of smoke from evening fires. She reached a broken wooden door and pushed it open. Inside was dim, hot, quiet. "Mama, I'm back," Mina whispered. An old woman coughed from the mat in the corner. Her thin body was covered in a wrapper. Her eyes were tired but lit up at the sound of Mina's voice. "Welcome, my daughter," said Mama Faye, her voice weak. "Did you get the job?" Mina forced a smile and sat beside her. She pulled out a bottle of crushed herbs and massaged her mother's legs, then added a few drops of leaf oil into her teacup. "I don't know yet," she said softly, "but I tried." Mama Faye touched her cheek. "Your hands smell like detergent." Mina laughed sadly. "Long story," she didn't explain. Flashback to 5 years ago. Their house had caught fire after a cooking stove exploded. They were lucky to escape alive, but they lost everything. Mina was just 19. Her final exams were a month away. She dropped out to care for her mother. Since then, they had lived in that one-room shack. Mama's lungs never fully healed. Every night, Mina cooked outside with firewood, the smoke clinging to her clothes and skin like a curse. Back at Zyrontech, Elian sat in the surveillance room. He wasn't supposed to be there, but he had asked quietly. "Rewind to the hallway, 3:14 p.m., he said. The footage showed the janitor approaching the bags, a small bottle, a quick splash, a text sent after. The screen froze. The name on the message, Ivana. Elian narrowed his eyes. He recognized her, always loud, always around him. "She paid him," he said quietly. The next morning, Mina didn't want to go, but she went anyway. At the company gate, she stood frozen when a guard handed her a letter. She opened it with shaking hands. "Congratulations. You have been selected as the junior analyst for Zyrontech's clean energy program. Report to HQ Monday at 9 a.m. Her mouth fell open. She read it again, then again. Tears filled her eyes. At that exact moment, inside the building, Ivana was screaming. "What do you mean she got the job? I ranked higher in testing. This is nonsense." No one answered her. Monday morning. Mina wore her best dress, a plain brown skirt and white blouse. She braided her hair, borrowed shoes, and cleaned her bag with lemon water. She looked decent. When she entered the office, Ivana greeted her first. "Hi, Mina. So happy to have you on the team," she said with a plastic smile. Mina nodded nervously. "Thank you." An hour later, during a team tea break, Ivana accidentally bumped into her. Hot tea spilled all over Mina's blouse. "Oh no, I'm so clumsy," Ivana said sweetly. "So sorry." Everyone laughed under their breath. Some looked away, awkward. Mina stood frozen. Her blouse was soaked and stained. Her hands trembled. And then, a calm voice behind them. "Here." It was Elian. He removed his own jacket and gently placed it on Mina's shoulders. The room fell silent. Even Ivana blinked, confused. Mina looked at him, stunned. "But I can't." "You can," he said quietly. "You earned your place here. Nobody knew yet. But that small act would change everything." By the second week, whispers had spread across all 3 floors of Zyrontech. "She's the girl who smells like smoke. Did you see Elian give her his jacket? Why her? Is he dating her or just bored?" Mina heard it all. The jokes, the murmurs, the pity. She stopped using the elevator. She ate lunch alone in the far corner of the staff canteen, next to the back exit where the smell of leftover food and bleach mixed with fresh air. Her spoon moved slowly. She didn't taste anything. Suddenly, the chair beside her moved. She looked up, startled. A cleaner in a blue jumpsuit sat beside her, placing his lunchbox down. He smiled gently. "Mind if I sit here?" She blinked. "No, it's fine." He didn't eat at first, just watched her quietly. "Your name is Mina, right?" he asked. She nodded. "You're not from here?" "No. Obasi Village. Big move." She smiled faintly. "Big struggle, too." He tilted his head. "What's your story?" Something about his voice felt familiar, kind, like warm water on a cold day. "So," she told him, "about how her house burned down, about Mama Faye's cough, about how she cooked with firewood every day, how the smoke stuck to her skin, no matter how many times she scrubbed, how people mocked her, avoided her, looked at her like dirt. But she had no choice." "I just want a chance," she whispered. "That's all?" The man said nothing for a moment. Then softly, "You deserve one." Before Mina could say thank you, a sharp, loud noise rang through the building. The fire alarm. Everyone panicked. Staff began rushing toward the exits. "Evacuate! Evacuate!" someone shouted. Mina stood up quickly. Her eyes scanned the crowd. Then she saw him. Mr. Tolu, an older man from the accounts team. He was in a wheelchair, struggling to reach the stairs. People ran past him. Some bumped his chair. No one stopped. Ivana ran out first, high heels clacking, screaming for someone to save the files. Mina didn't think twice. She grabbed the handles of Mr. Tolu's chair and began pushing him down the ramp to the back stairwell. Her palms burned. Her skirt caught in the wheels once. She didn't stop. They reached the courtyard safely just as others poured out from the main exit. Coughing, sweating, Mina guided the chair toward shade. That's when a black SUV rolled into the compound. Chief and Sofor stepped out. The CEO, the boss of bosses. People adjusted their ties. Some fixed their wigs. He walked past the crowd, straight toward Mina. "What's your name?" he asked, his deep voice calm but curious. Mina froze. Mina Adegbite, sir." She was still holding the wheelchair. Her hands were black with grease and dirt. Her blouse was soaked again. The faint smell of smoke surrounded her, mixed with cheap soap and exhaustion. Before the chief could say more, Ivana stepped forward, perfect as ever, her voice loud and sugary. "Sir, I've been meaning to tell you. This girl always smells funny. It's not professional." Gasps. Mina's head dropped. Her heart cracked. Silence. Chief Nasofor turned to Ivana, then to Mina. He stared quietly. Then he spoke, slowly. "That smell reminds me of my own childhood." Everyone turned. He continued. "My mother cooked with firewood. We lived in a shack near the old refinery. That smell followed her everywhere. Until she died." His voice was steady, cold, deep. "And no one had the right to make her feel ashamed of it." Ivana's mouth opened slightly, then shut. Mina looked up, eyes wide. "Thank you for helping Mr. Tolu," Chief Nsofor added. "You showed leadership. Today. Real leadership." Then he turned and walked away. From behind the crowd, the cleaner stood quietly. He smiled, because Mina didn't know yet. But the man in the blue jumpsuit was Elian, and he had just watched the moment his father saw Mina. Not as the smelly girl, but as someone who reminded him of home. The entire office buzzed after the fire drill incident. Some whispered that Mina had won the CEO's heart. Others still laughed about her smell. But one person wasn't laughing at all. Elian. He couldn't sleep that night. He kept thinking about his father's words. "That smell reminds me of my own childhood. And Mina's pain. Her story. It all felt too close to something he had heard before. Something buried. So, at 2 a.m., Elian entered the private wing of the mansion. His father's office was locked, but he had the backup key. He slipped inside. Books, files, trophies. He searched drawer after drawer, and then, behind a stack of dusty reports, he found an old file with a burnt edge. The title read, Faye Adegbite, Pending Compensation, Obasi Incident, 15 years. He opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a grainy photograph of a burning shack, flames eating the roof. A small girl standing in front, holding a crying woman. It was Mina. The date matched the year she said her house burned down. Beside it, a report confirming that Xyrantech had dumped toxic materials in a nearby waterway, illegally, causing a gas leak and fire. No apology, no payout. Just a stamp that said, Case unresolved. Elian sat back, stunned. All this time, the smell wasn't just firewood. It was the scar his own family left behind. The next morning, Elian called for an emergency meeting, privately, with the company's board. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. We owe someone something, he said. And if we don't fix it now, this company is just expensive garbage built on the bones of the poor. But while Elian was busy gathering justice, Ivana was busy gathering revenge. She knew her chances with Elian were dead. She knew Mina had become a favorite, and she couldn't stand it. So she posted a blurry CCTV clip online, a fake edit showing Mina putting something into a co-worker's purse. The caption, Caught, new girl stealing at Xyrantech? It went viral in hours. By lunchtime, HR had summoned Mina to the conference room. She entered, confused. Inside were 2 directors, 1 HR officer, and her worst nightmare. Ivana stood at the window, pretending to look worried. Mina, the HR lady said, folding her hands. We received a serious complaint. They played the video. Mina stared at the screen in horror. I didn't do that, she said, her voice shaking. That's not real. I never... The room was cold. No one looked at her kindly. Her knees trembled. Her voice cracked. I swear on my mother's life, I never took anything. Ivana sighed. Let's not be dramatic. If it was a mistake, just say it. Mina gasped, tears pouring now. Please. I've worked so hard. I've done nothing wrong. The HR officer stood. We may have to suspend you, pending. The door opened. Elian walked in. His face was unreadable. He carried a single folder in his hand. Without a word, he dropped it on the table. Everyone turned. The front page read, Obasi Village Fire, Xyrantech Responsibility, Victim, Faye Adegbite. Then Elian looked straight at the room and said, She's not a thief. She's the victim of your silence. The room fell silent. Ivana's face turned pale. Elian's voice rose, calm but powerful. You mocked her smell. But that smell came from a fire we caused. And instead of justice, she got shame. Mina covered her mouth. Her tears fell harder. But now, they weren't from shame. They were from something else. For the first time in years, she felt seen. The next day, the boardroom was buzzing with shock and urgency. Elian, having gathered the damning evidence, was now standing before the company's senior management. The faces of the directors and board members were drawn tight with worry. He spoke clearly. Our company's actions have hurt countless lives. The fire in Obasi Village left scars that still burn today. We ignored the cries for justice for too long. His voice resonated like a gavel. Across the room, Chief Ensofor's eyes widened, his usual stern expression trembling with regret. He knew the truth could no longer be hidden. With a heavy sigh, he addressed the assembly. I cannot undo what has been done. It is time to make amends." His voice was low and somber, carrying the weight of many lost years. There was a pause before he continued. "I hereby announce that compensation will be paid to the victims of the Obasi incident, and to begin this process, I will be offering a leadership role to one who has shown extraordinary resilience and integrity." All eyes turned toward Mina. Within moments, whispers filled the room. Staff members murmured apologies, many lowering their heads in regret. Even Ivana, who had pushed her cruel narrative, now looked pale and silent. Later that day, HR sent out an official memo. Mina Adegbite was promoted to head of community projects at Xyrantech. The announcement was met with mixed emotions. Some applauded quietly. Others were still processing the transformation of the day's earlier humiliation into a step for social change. Mina, still trembling from the events of the past few days, was escorted to her new office. Her hands shook as she signed the new contract. She could barely believe that the girl who had once been mocked for her smell was now entrusted with healing an entire community, and even inspiring others like her to rise above their humble beginnings. Days turned into weeks as the transformation took effect. The public apology from the board and the launch of a new compensation plan filled the media. Xyrantech's image was slowly rebuilding, anchored by a strong commitment to social responsibility. In the center of this revolution was the newly formed initiative called the Faye Foundation, named in honor of Mina's mother, Mama Faye, whose suffering had sparked the change. Late one sunny afternoon, in the early warmth of the day, Mina stepped out onto the company's rooftop garden to catch a breath. It was a quiet space, with potted plants and a view of the bustling city below, a stark contrast to the chaos of the past weeks. There, leaning against the railing, was Elian, now publicly known as the CEO's son. His calm gaze softened as he watched her. Approaching her quietly, he asked with a hint of shyness, "If I said I admired you from day one, would you believe me?" Mina blinked slowly, the memory of her struggles mingling with her newfound strength. A shy smile spread across her face as she replied, "Only if you stop calling me ma'am." There was a playful glimmer in her eyes. They both laughed, a sound of relief, of hope, and of beginnings. The laughter echoed around the rooftop, filled with promise and the assurance of transformation. In that moment, it was clear. Mina's journey from being the outcast of an oppressive past to becoming a leader for change was complete. The company, once a symbol of negligence, was now rebranding itself with a genuine commitment to community welfare. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over the rooftop garden, Mina and Elian stood side by side. Together they looked out over the city, a city ready to heal, to learn, and to grow. The legacy of hardship was now being rewritten. The launch of the Faye Foundation ensured that Mama Faye's memory and the lessons of the past would guide them toward a future defined by accountability, compassion, and unwavering dignity. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country name below. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories that inspire and move you.